So here we are at the trailhead to the forest road that leads to the crash site of Captain Ritter. This is right off Francis Leetonia Road. I'm going to try to put a picture on the video and show you exactly where it's at. There is a defined turn in the road where you can find this. Right up the road, heading north, you'll see the Cold Spring Cabin, and that's a hairpin turn, goes all the way around 180 degrees. So right when you come around that corner, you will see this forest gate. And this whole thing, I want to say, if I remember correctly, it's about 1.5 miles back. I'm going to jog this, so we will pick up when we get to the end of it. But it's a very easy trail. It's a cleared forest road the entire way back. So you'll go through a couple clearings. Just keep going until you get to the end, and you'll know when you're at the end. So we'll pick up when we get there. So here we are at the end. You'll come up to this culvert pipe, and that leads into the last clearing. And again, the entire trail is just this nice wide open logging road. And it is better this time of year with the snow having it all packed down. Last time I came through, I was jogging through waist-high grass. And these gnats and flies and ticks are horrible this year. So hopefully they don't interfere with the video too much. But this is where it gets a little tricky. So we are about 1.5 miles back in. And like I said, it's easy to see right now because this is all clear. But in the summer, there's a lot of tall weeds here. Now you see that trail right in front of us. That is not it. When you come into this last clearing, off to the left, just off to the side of that trail, they have a row of flags and flowers. And there's a little path here you'll see. And that'll lead us back to the site. And so here we are. You can see the crater this made. And unfortunately, people have scavenged the wreckage over the years, what they didn't get out initially after the crash. And so this is all that's left, is basically the engine. If that's even the engine, I'm not even sure. And then, like I say, the Boy Scouts set up a nice memorial here. So to give you a little bit of the history of Captain Lawrence Ritter, he was a World War II ace pilot for the Army Air Corps. He was very experienced, had over 1,500 hours of flight time. In 1943, he had shot down 13 German fighters in air battles and sank a U-boat, all while part of the 325th Fighter Group 319th Fighter Squadron during World War II. After that, he did have additional victories in skies over Germany and occupied France, and in total had survived 55 combat missions prior to this tragic accident. So what happened here was he was on a routine flight, training flight from Selfridge Field, Michigan to LaGuardia in New York, when he came upon a heavy snowstorm out of nowhere in April 26, 1946, over PA. They figure he got disoriented and didn't know up from down, which you hear about, especially if you watch that show Air Disasters. Pilots have that happen. And so he got disoriented and crashed straight into the earth. And that's really what made the search so hard also. The way he came down, he came straight down. So when they set out to search for the wreckage, they were looking for a trail through the woods and they couldn't find one because he had come straight down. So on May 2nd, they actually abandoned the search. It wasn't until November of that year, almost 8 months later, that some bear hunters in the area stumbled upon some wreckage and found some human remains and reported it. And so then search parties were set out and they started combing the Black Forest looking for the wreckage. Back then, this was an extremely desolate area. I mean, it still really is. It's just cabins in the area. So a road, when they did finally find the crash site, a road was built to access it, and a lot of the wreckage was retrieved then, and the majority of his remains were retrieved. He was married and did have at least one child. His wife had him cremated, and she did spread his ashes on this site. So he is still here. But so that's a little bit more about him. So now more about the site. After the crash, again, he was in a P-47 Thunderbolt. After everything kind of settled down and his remains were retrieved and all that, the site was forgotten about. In 2000, a Boy Scout troop leader set out to rediscover the site. He thought it'd be a good project for the Scouts. And so they set out to re-find it. So long story short, it took them a long time because the GPS coordinates were not accurate, and they did rediscover the site. And so then in June of 2001, they brought this memorial stone up here, and they had a service of remembrance for Captain Ritter. Unfortunately, over the years, other pieces of the wreckage have been, taken, and so this is all that's left. But yeah, the tragedy besides the crash was how many times he had been forgotten about. When he crashed, they couldn't find him for almost 8 months. Then when they did find him, the site went forgotten about again for almost 50 years. There was also a fire that destroyed a lot of his service records and a lot of other people's service records. And so it seemed like Captain Ritter just kept getting forgotten about. And so it is nice that they finally set up a memorial here. Nobody should be forgotten about, especially not our service people, especially war heroes like Captain Ritter. So again, it's nice that they have this set up here. And so with that, let's conclude by saying, rest in peace, Captain Ritter. We thank you for your service.